Hello and welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Marin and here you will find a little beauty, a little books, and a little teaching content. So if that sounds like something you might enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stick around and join me in my little corner of YouTube. As you can see from the wheel behind me, it is time for another round of my Wheel of TBR, this time choosing the books that I am hoping to read in the month of November. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, it has been several months since I have played my Wheel of TBR game. I took a few months off after I had ankle surgery back in June. Last month, I played Spookopoly and TBR Harvest, but this month I am bringing back my wheel and I am hoping that it is going to be nice to me because I do have quite the list of books that I would like to get to this month. So I am not going to do a recap of how I did with Spookopoly or TBR Harvest because those were kind of just fun TBRs that I didn't really have any intention of fully getting through because there were a lot of books. This one, however, I would like to get to whatever books I pick for the wheel, so we're just gonna have to see how it goes. This is going to be my penultimate round of Wheel of TBR because in 2025 I am actually going to be doing a new TBR game, so you can stay tuned for that. But as for now, we're gonna go ahead and get into the spins. Now, a couple of things. I am going to replace this prompt right here. This is Nancy Drew. I get my Nancy Drew books from Internet Archive, and over the past month, they have been dealing with the fallout of a DDoS attack. So they took everything offline, and you still are not fully able to log in, which means I cannot read the Nancy Drew books right now because you do have to be logged in to access those. So I'm going to take this prompt off because that is not fully up and functional yet, and I am not sure that it is going to be or how soon it's going to be. So I'm going to swap this prompt out for a different one. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a random prompt. Okay, right here we've got Magical Realism. That one will replace Nancy Drew. The rest of these are fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to spin. So if you are new to my TBR games, typically I do not allow myself to land on the same spot twice. I have to forfeit the prompt the second time if I were to land on it and choose a title from my TBR jar. However, I am going to be nice to myself because, as I mentioned, I already have a large stack, you can kind of see it right here, of books that I'm hoping to read this month, and I do not have time to potentially pull a really thick nonfiction book out of my TBR jar. It's just not going to happen. So I am going to set my forfeit rule to the side, and I'm going to spin my wheel 5 times. If it happens to land on the same spot more than once, it's fine. We're just going to go with it. There will be no forfeits this month. So that's how we're going to do it. Let's go ahead now and get ready for spin number 1. Okay, we have series continuation, which is perfect. November is another round of the final book support group, which is hosted by Steph over at Steph Loves. I wanted to participate, so let me grab the series that I will be continuing this month. Okay, so for series continuation, I am actually going to go with the newest Percy Jackson book. This is Wrath of the Triple Goddess. This is technically book 7 in the Percy Jackson series. I got this when it was released at the end of September and just have not had a chance to read it. So this is a perfect time. This will work for a final book support group, and it will get me caught up on this series because I am trying to read this series as it's released. The final book will be out next year in 2025. So this is book 1 for November. Okay, let's go ahead and replace series continuation with novella. And now let's do spin number 2. Okay, now this one does not come off the board. That is 2024 series list. So I did create a series TBR for 2024. I will link that up above if you would like to go ahead and go back and watch that. I am not doing super great on that TBR. So let me see if I can find one to fit into this month's reading plan. So let me take a look. All right, for 2024 series list, this is perfect. I was planning on reading this one this month anyway, so this works out. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Akata Warrior. This is by Nnedi Okorafor. This is book 2 in her Incivity Scripts series. This series follows Sunny. She is an American-born Nigerian girl who finds out that she has some magical powers. And in the first book, she is kind of trying to figure out how her powers work, what she needs to do. This is a continuation of that. Something big went down at the end of the first book, so this is the continuation of her story. I am very excited to get to this one and hoping that I really love it. I loved Akata Witch, which was the first book. My plan is to read this one in November and the final book in December, so this works out perfectly. All right, I do not swap that prompt out. It stays on the wheel, so let's go ahead and do spin number 3. Okay, this one starts with M. That is the title, starts with M. So let me see what I can find for this. Okay, for starts with M, I am going to go with Magnolia Parks. This is by Jessa Hastings. I know that this is like hit or miss for a lot of people, and I'm not sure I'm going to love it based on what I've heard, but I do want to give it a read. So this will be the month that I try out Magnolia Parks. If I do enjoy it, I can then go ahead and order the rest of them from Waterstones because this is the self-published / UK cover. I do not care for the US covers. So yeah, we're gonna see how this goes, and hopefully I will enjoy it even if I'm a little iffy about it. Okay, let's replace starts with M with this one, which is a one-word title. Okay, now we'll do spin number 4. Okay, same prompt that we already got. 2024 series list. I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't planning on reading any other books from this list this month. So let me take a look and see if I want to do any of them. Okay, yeah, no, I don't have any other series books from that TBR that I really want to read this month. So my game, my rules. I'm gonna go ahead and spin again for spin number 4 and pretend this one didn't happen. Are you kidding me? Okay, we're not doing that. I'm gonna spin again. Ah, there we go. Okay, new prompt. This one is standalone. It only took 3 tries. I know what I'm gonna pick for this. Let me grab it. All right, for standalone, I am going to go with a book from my 24 and 2024. That book is Tamar. This is by Mal Pete. I was supposed to read this in grad school and did not get a chance to, and I've wanted to read it since then. This says, in the terrible hunger winter of 1944, 2 undercover operatives parachute into Nazi-occupied Holland. They are spies for the Allied forces sent to provide support for the Dutch resistance movement. My classmates really liked this one. I tend to really like historical fiction set during World War II, so I am very hopeful that I will enjoy this one. The only issue with this one, and the reason it hasn't gotten read yet, is that I don't believe it has an audiobook, which is what put me off of it before, so I will have to read this one physically. I tend to do a lot of my reading via audiobook, so that's not ideal, but yes, this is the one I'm going to go with because I really need to get this one read. Okay, let's replace standalone with this one. There we go. Pronoun in the title. And now it's time to do the final spin. Spin number 5. Okay, magical realism. Let me see if I can find something for this one. Okay, I'm not sure if this is cheating slightly, but for magical realism, I'm gonna go with Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I have already started this one, but I am filming this on November 2nd, and I just started this yesterday in November, so we're going with it. This one is about a girl named Opal and a house that is in the town that she lives in. The house has some weird things going on with it. There have definitely been some instances of magical slash paranormal slash supernatural goings on in like terms of the history of the house and the town itself. So I'm gonna go with this one for magical realism, even if it isn't completely magical realism and is more like paranormal. I think it fits. So this will be the pick for that. As I mentioned, I've already started it. This does have an audio, which is how I've been reading it. I've not gotten very far. I'm only on page 89. So I feel like that works for this prompt. So this is going to be the final pick for my Wheel of TBR for November. Okay, let's go ahead and put a prompt on there so it's ready for next month. Okay, this is a BookTube rec. And now let me chat about some of the other books that I want to read this month just to round out this video. Okay, so I have like a whole stack right here of other things that I'm wanting to read this month. I went to do my early voting, although we don't call it that in Missouri, but it's early voting yesterday, and it was at a library, so I did some browsing while I was there. And I picked up Rook by Sharon Cameron. I have read several books by her, and I've loved all of them. So I'm looking forward to reading this one. It's been on my TBR for a really long time. This says, history has a way of repeating itself. In the sunken city that was once Paris, all who oppose the new revolution are being put to the blade. Except for those who disappear from their prison cells, a red-tipped rook feather left in their place. The mysterious red rook is a savior of the innocent and a criminal in the eyes of the government. So that's kind of the setup. I've wanted to read it for a while, saw it on the shelf, figured now would be a good time, and it kind of fits the vibes for November. I also picked up All My Rage by Saba Tahir. I have wanted to read this one as well ever since it was released. It's a recent-ish release, I believe. This one came out, 2022, so it's not been out very long. It's actually an award nominee for the state of Missouri for high school, but I've heard good things about this book. I read An Ember in the Ashes years ago, liked it okay, but didn't feel like I needed to continue the series. So this will only be the second book that I've read by her, but yeah, this is a contemporary fiction book. We have two timelines, then and now. The first one is set in Pakistan. The second one is set in California. And it just sounds really interesting, gonna be kind of impactful, powerful, etc. Saw this, decided this would be a good time to give it a read, so hopefully I can fit this one in. Then I have my classics pick that I was actually supposed to read during the months of September and October, and I did not get to. That is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I did start listening to this on audio, but it wasn't really grabbing me, and I decided I just wanted to listen to something else, so I kind of put it aside. I don't even think I made it like 2 chapters in, so gonna give this one a read and hopefully get it completed this month because I already have another classic that I need to read for November and December. Then I have a book that I wanted to read last month. It was actually part of, which TBR? I think it was part of my Spookopoly TBR and I didn't get to it. That is Her Little Flowers by Shannon Morgan. I've wanted to read this one since it came out. It's about a woman who lives in her family's ancestral home. It says no other living soul resides there, but Francine isn't alone. There are ghosts, harmless and familiar. But her sister shows back up and then things start to go awry. So I've wanted to read this one. I think it's going to be really, really good. And even though we're out of official spooky season, I feel like November still fits the vibe. So I'm really hoping I can get to this one. And then I have another book for my 24 and 2024 that is Brightly Woven by Alexandra Bracken. This was her debut, which I heard a lot of people really enjoyed when they read it, so I'm hoping that I will like it. We'll just kind of see how it goes. I read the Darkest Minds series earlier this year, so this will be like her oldest book, and it would be nice to actually cross it off my TBR. So those are the 5 books that I have here that I'm hoping to read, but let's go back through the ones that I actually picked for the TBR. So for series continuation, I have chosen Wrath of the Triple Goddess by Rick Riordan. For 2024 series TBR, I chose Akata Warrior by Nnedi Okorafor. For a book that starts with M, I chose Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. For a standalone, I chose Tamar by Mal Peet. And for magical realism, I chose Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. But there we go. Those are the books that I am hoping to read in the month of November. If you enjoyed, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. If you made it to the end of this video, you can leave me the stack of books emoji. And otherwise, I will see you in my next one. Bye, everyone.